Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Rebel Inc. Let's Play. Northstar here. I hope you folks are well, taking care of each other, being kind to yourselves. So it did turn out there were a couple combos, maps, leaders that I had not done yet. That's why I didn't get the achievement for Mountain Pass and Southern Desert. All of them. Tanke Commander in this one's gonna be rough. I guess I could do The Economist. Not like the fucking billionaire. Oh, well, the newspaper, this freaking mouthpiece of billionaires in the UK. No, Economist is an economist. Hopefully, not some right wing mouthpiece for the very rich. If you don't know anything about the state of the economics profession, it is heavily subverted with a lot of censorship of views that are anywhere left of center. And you have the fake Nobel Prize in Economics. It's not a real Nobel Prize. It was created by the Central Bank of Sweden as supposedly a marketing gimmick, but really to push the profession of economics to the right. There was an attempt to sue them to change the name because they had no right to call it the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prizes were created in the 1800s. They created this in 1969. However, I'm sure most of you don't care about that. Mm. Town planner would be fine. So, let's see what's going on. The U.S. is dangerously close to being full-on fascist now, with Trump threatening to declare martial law across the country because of what's going on in L.A. I'm telling you, folks, fascism is coming to America sooner or later, and might be in your and my lifetime. This is how it starts. This is very much how it starts. Oh, deploy there, because if there's a garrison, HQ counts as a garrison. You can sometimes stabilize even if there's red zones adjacent. This is a pretty good start, I think. What? Boom. The economists can control inflation if need be. Let's see. Universal justice and wait a tiny bit because inflation comes down very quickly when it's this high. And now do the bank reserve increase to nuke inflation down to low 2%. And 1%. All right, infrastructure discussions. Waiting for a little more time to pass. There we go. Remote outreach. Main roads. This area counts as a remote zone. I want to get the roads there quickly. Limited access for cherries. Alright. Past time for effective procurement. A whole lump of new stuff pretty soon. A little into debt to get the rural outreach there a little earlier. Initiatives do no good if you don't roll them out quick enough. So, school supplies. School expansion. Development discussions. Alright, past time for local militia. Development bank completed by charity. Nice. Inflation's up to 19% again. Let's grab the coalition soldiers. Not affected by inflation here in case they need troops out that way. Alright. And they're probably coming from somewhere in these mounds. Unfortunately, now they're going to be driven that way. Let's grab surveillance drones. Oh, there's the camp. It's actually there. All right. Start training those national soldiers. Unessential spending freeze. Because I need money for anti-corruption. Ah! Only be so many places at once. Arrgh. I need anti-corruption 2. Corruption 3. If they're gonna go there, I might be able to store that camp to slow the insurgent spawns. Excuse me, electricity. Alright, they can't take 2 insurgents there. Alright, airstrikes. This is going surprisingly poorly. Ah! Oh, shoot. And they're going to take that. There we go. Placement ready. Withdrawn coalition soldiers, not a moment too soon. Definitely need the PR office. It's ridiculous how slowly zones are stabilizing. It's partly because there's all these insurgent controlled ones nearby, which you can't possibly do anything about. And I lost. Oh well. I thought that might have been doable, but maybe not. Not with that map. Oh. Not with that luck. I'll try again then. Wrong map. Maybe ding me because I haven't done this before on normal, this particular map. Really? This is where my green zones are? Nope. Not doing that. I'm gonna have to go even harder on some of this stuff. So it's negligible impact on inflation. Get a little more ahead of corruption than I did last time. Even universal justice increases inflation. Ridiculous. Drought. God. Oh. And it devastated an already green zone. A drought. Really? Losing the PR battle already. some livestock development. That was a very early stabilization. Come on, when does this come down to $13? There we go. Can't control that zone, no matter how much you might want. I'm gonna need local militias to start to bring down the damage. Boom. Mercy rates soar. I got a foothold over. Shoot. I'm getting held up there. More police. Can't be everywhere at once. That'll enable me to get by with fewer coalition troops. And that quickly stabilize more places. International assistance. see any insurgents here. Doesn't mean there are none. Alright, and I have to go a little into debt because I need more roads. Can't be everywhere at once. Shouldn't have gone up there, should have gone here. That was a mistake. One that'll cost me. Limited access for charities. Takes too long to get anywhere here. Yeah, so there's hidden zones with insurgents are randomly stronger, and sometimes they can screw you. Without really carefully examining the map, you wouldn't know where that is. This doesn't appear to be one of them, but whatever. Alright, time for vocational training. Place expansion. Oop. And insurgents, I need all the rep I can get. H2. Really need to get more security. Charlie Yankee. That because it's cheap and I don't want charities doing it. Subsistence. Outreach. Dirt roads. If we can get better roads up here, maybe I can get troops out there in a reasonable time. Oop, there's a camp there. These guys need support. Excuse me. Increase pay national soldiers. They definitely need it. New Air Force and National Soldiers. Well, seem to be winning this time around quite handily. New football league, significant funding, more support. Time for electricity. Helps with rolling stuff out quicker. Pole eradication because it's cheap and the cherries still rarely do stuff. Subtle pressure. God, I hate that number keeps showing up. Into ID vehicle upgrade. Trying to keep national troops in unstable zones. I need troops in for a long time. Because coalition troops cause hostility. I'm getting bit by freaking ants. Typical. Alright. I'm a member I have to stay with because I am disabled and unable to work due to long COVID. This person does not keep a clean house, refuses to vacuum. It's disgusting. Really. I mean, I don't have the physical energy to do that, or very many things at all, unfortunately. I could be trying just to sit here and record these videos in the hopes that I can get my YouTube to work and earn some money to survive long term. Let's see. Lose support but gain security. Probably worth it. It did help the insurgents accrue, it appears. By way of support, probably. Number of industrial apprenticeships on the rise. Keep throwing the insurgents. I really need another spawn of the garrisons. It's just hard to contain them in the particular zones they're in. That being said, I think I can do it here. National soldiers there should be more than capable of operating somewhat independently. Just see 2. Faster raw initiatives, the better. Sometimes they get damaged, and the most important ones to replace quickly, for what it's worth, are the security initiatives. So let's just do the police departments, basically. Keep stopping them from attacking zones. Or retreating into zones, rather. There we go. Keep funding the military. There aren't that many highways in the region, but there are a few, so... Actually, there's quite a few. So yeah, highways 1. Faster transport through those areas. Train system to help a little with the locals being angry. Development Bank. Prison reform. Remote subsidies. Unessential spending freeze. And finally, a corruption purge. Polio vaccines gaining pace. Yay. So yeah, for those curious, maybe it may seem weird. Might be critical of fascists starting to take over the U.S. government, and police are important here. I'm not necessarily opposed to police. I'm opposed to militarized police. I'm opposed to police being used to deal with every single type of call. I was an EMT once upon a time, and let me tell you, these police officers only made mental health calls worse. I am opposed to. I did that before I went back to grad school to become a physician. I was doing a special master's, getting straight A's, so I was definitely going to make it to become a physician, but then I got long COVID. A right approach for that, an area that has been pioneered by some areas, is to have specialists in police departments who aren't actually police officers. They're mental health professionals, and they handle the mental health calls. Police officers, as like as not, some of the worst officers, and there are bad apples. There's also, though, a situation of it being a bad barrel sometimes. It depends on the department. Some departments are good, some are bad. But then again, some of the police officers I thought were relatively uncorrupt. Turned out later, people I sometimes worked alongside were stealing money from the state. So I may be a little naive. Some of these police officers in my area were stealing money. It's like, well, at least they weren't shooting mentally ill people. That was more people out in the suburban police departments that were excessively violent. You know, the white suburbs, not the inner city officers. But anyways, and it is a fairly white city. It wasn't like, I know people are going to have stereotypes about minorities in cities. Yeah. Stereotypes are a way to control and divide people. But, police are not the right response for every call. They aren't. Heck, it reminds me of, if you've ever played the game 911 Operator, or 112 Operator, which is the European version of that, though I'm an American, so the only thing is about the 112 Operator game, it's apparently expanded on the basics, but there's a bunch of DLC, so it's more expensive too. 911 Operator was the first game in the series, and it's simpler, but you know. Anyways, it reminds me, if you try and stick police on every call, things will go very poorly. They're not appropriate for every call, though you can give them some very basic first aid training. They're inefficient at it, and you get worse outcomes, and that's realistic. Although you can have them help on mental health calls, again, they're not the right tool for the job. And that's in a game. I mean, in real life, it's worse because, you know, police officers can end up shooting people on mental health calls. And that's particularly bad in the U.S. because police officers are armed to teeth in this country. And like in many European countries where the police are often unarmed, though they do have the gendarmes, which are more like riot control, and they're often heavily armed. There's still police brutality in Europe. It's just, it manages to be more limited to brutality against protesters and riots, and just because someone's rioting doesn't mean they deserve to be murdered. which sometimes gendarmes in Europe will still do that because they have a much more right-wing group of people in the gendarmes. But what you won't see is ordinary police officers armed to the teeth all the time, because there's an understanding that that's a bad idea. That apparently Americans haven't gotten a clue of. Sending national troops there instead of coalition, because the coalitions eventually have to withdraw. New hospital approved with oversight. Let's do export agencies. It's past time for a peace deal. Agricultural logistics. So, agricultural products can be exported. Mess. International forces remain definitely first point of contention. Just in case you see random people popping up. I mean, random bases, regional census to improve intel gathering there. But yeah, I've learned insurgent parties ban. People see Europe as some magical land where everything is perfect. They're delusion, but things are better. Democracy is less decayed in Europe. In Western Europe, I'm referring to, because in Eastern Europe it's quite bad because neoliberal shock therapy actually made things terrible, because cutting welfare systems, covering government spending, privatizing shit left and right turns out to be a very bad idea. Just try and force capitalism on countries after the end of the Soviet Union. So the idea was to create a kleptocratic upper class so that capitalism would end up entrenched in these areas. That was what the documents of some of the theorists who drew up neoliberal shock therapy literally said, that they were going to basically create a massively wealthy segment of the population, even if they were wildly corrupt, just so that they would have an interest in maintaining capitalism. Because apparently socialism is the ultimate evil, not, corruption, theft, violence, authoritarianism. That shows you where the loyalties really lie of these fuckers. Garrison. I still don't have civil support. So, boom. Running up the score at this point. I'm curious to see if I can get actually a high one. My insanely high rep. Industrial support. Crop development. It's time for a democratic transition. Keep demanding concessions. Commercial support. Or children attending school. A good headline. And a corruption purge. Since I had driven up corruption a bit with all this. Check the peace deal for the rep. Only doing it for the rep after all. Let's grab security checkpoints just in case. All that causes huge problems. Prioritize elections. I should have begun the democratic transition earlier, but jobs protest ends finally. But I haven't beat the first 5 maps with there's still some I haven't. What? That's weird. Maybe it was created before all the governors read. Achievement. Only 19,000 score? Really? Well, got the achievements. Beat that map. I will see you folks later. I hope my thoughts aren't too much for y'all, but when LA is on fire because of fascists literally trying to provoke violence so that they can do martial law, so that they can end democracy in the United States, because that's quite clear what's going on. Trump knows his holding power is tenuous, and he might face prosecution if he gets kicked out, since he's been even more corrupt this term than his first. So, and because he did face prosecution before, and he delayed and delayed until he got back in office. So what is he doing now? He is trying to spur violence, roll out the troops. He's trying to roll out troops all across the country so we can end democracy before 2026 elections, where the Republicans are going to suffer loss of some seats if they aren't completely rigged with things like kicking people off the voter rolls and requiring passports to vote, which a lot of people are just not going to have time for, and conveniently poor people are going to be made to have a harder time getting passports. By the way, passports have a lot of fees. If it costs hundreds of dollars to get a passport, you shouldn't be multi-$100 fee attached to voting. There are a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck. That's wrong. It's not their fault. It's the rigged system. So, of course, the rich think, oh, you further easy, they didn't work hard. No, sometimes you never get a chance. I've moved from poverty to part of my life, and I worked extremely hard. For one, I've had family members who've had to help, who maybe they were worse with money, but it's not my fault. And the right thing is to help people who maybe are less capable of helping themselves. Same family members who sometimes treat me like shit now because they're not very grateful people, but doesn't change. You don't do these things for hope of reward. You do it because it's the right thing to do. I limit how much did to what I was able to sustain because I can't make myself a martyr, but that doesn't change that you don't. If a good deed done for hope or reward is not really a good deed. Anyways, here I go again, Mr. Eagle Scout. By the time this goes live, very likely there either will still be democracy in America or there won't, which is not to say that it's going to last, because I personally think there's that things where Trump is pushing the limits and he steps back and he pushes the limits and he steps back, but I don't think he'll be personally the one to end democracy. I think it'll probably be J.D. Vance or someone later. Maybe Trump will die in office from a stroke or some shit. But I don't think democracy has more than 20 years left, period, if that. So beware, resist, and wake the fuck up. People with left-wing ideas like me aren't the enemy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. And may you always find a guiding starry dome. Until next time, this is Northstar. Adieu.